Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That sounds more like it. My name is Nakima Levy-Pounds. I'm a law professor at the University of St. Thomas. I'm also on the board of the Minneapolis Foundation. It is a privilege and an honor to be here today as we celebrate the theme, honoring our common heritage and promoting solidarity. One of the reasons that it's important for us to come together in honor of our heritage, our history, and our culture is because of some of the challenges that we're facing in the Twin Cities amongst our Pan-African community. So often what you hear are tales of despair, tales of disparities, tales of frustration by many of us who are feeling the weight of oppression day in and day out. But this is an opportunity to reframe the narrative and to shift the paradigm by not only focusing on the challenges that we face within our community, but by focusing on the opportunities to affect change. That as we sit here today, that we'll leave with something that will catapult us forward into thinking about how do we reframe the narrative? How do we change the game? How do we shift the paradigm? How do we take things to the next level? How do we look at the adversity, the disparities, the negativity, and turn those things into opportunities to affect change?
Let every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the darkness has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the light.
James Burrows, who is the Executive Director of Equity and Diversity, Minneapolis Public Schools. Come on up, James.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. I am so happy to be here and so glad that you've come here as well. I want to say this about tweeting. Make sure you tweet something that doesn't get me in trouble by my superintendent. On behalf of Superintendent Bernadette Johnson, Dr. Bernadette Johnson, our CEO, Michael Gore, and also our board chair, Richard Mammon, we want to thank you for having this event for the second year in a row here at our school building. We're more than just a host of a location, we're a partner in this with Youth Prize, and that partnership runs deep for all of our students, but especially our African American students, so I want to thank you on their behalf. I've been asked to talk a little bit about also to our Black students here in the school district and give a perspective on that. What Marcus and Woki didn't know is that's a passion of mine, my dear heart. So if I get too long-winded, feel free to hook me, but that's something that I care a lot about. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. Is we're looking at the disproportionality of suspensions and expulsions. You can't learn if you're not in class.
And then black and brown water, and then Wade for giving me back what was already mine. Freedom.
Ms. Tawana Black, present an award. She's the board chair of Youth Prize and just an outstanding leader within our community.
Good morning. It's my esteemed pleasure to be able to be here and greet you on behalf of the Youth Prize Board. We thank each and every one of you for taking the time out to join us for our Black History Month Philanthropy Breakfast. This morning, I am so pleased to be able to honor someone who is near and dear to my heart. The 2014 award recognizes Mr. Bullock for more than 30 years of service as a steward of Minnesota's tradition of philanthropy, helping to support and mentor others in the field to grow into excellence. Ellis was one of the first people with Sean Lewis to welcome me into the field of philanthropy when I moved here 4 years ago. He lives what he talks. Ellis began his career in the field of philanthropy with Jostens Foundation in 1978, helping the company to build their foundation from the ground up and easily transitioning into the leadership role at Grotto Foundation in 2001. As only the third executive director of the Grotto Foundation, Ellis stewarded the foundation's commitment to culturally sensitive support of its American Indian Family Empowerment Program and the Minnesota Dream Fund. The mission of Youth Prize is one that is close to Ellis's heart. One of his early positions was operating the Youth Trust, and he has committed a lifetime of time, talent, and resources toward closing disparities that impact Black youth in Minnesota. As I present this award to Ellis, I want to read its inscription. Says, in appreciation for your leadership in championing African American youth, advancing responsive philanthropy, and promoting equity and inclusion in philanthropic communities. With admiration for your work in accelerating leadership and innovation in learning beyond the classroom by investing in the enterprise of youth, you are our first Giving Black Award honoree.
Wookie, you said I could have an hour and a half. I do want to just take a minute and say first to Youth Prize, thank you so much for this great honor, and I am honored. I'm getting ready to retire, and this is a great way of saying good riddance. Thank you so much to the board of Youth Prize and to the young people of Youth Prize. Thank you for this great honor, and also I want to say to some of the folks that were invited here on my behalf, and I just want to say thank you for coming out. I know all of you have some very, very busy times, and I appreciate your being here. But again, thank you, Youth Prize.
It is my distinct pleasure to present the next award, the Legacy Award. And I want to tell you how the award came about. Woki and I were talking, we were asked to do this event again, and she told me about the program that her and Marcus were doing with our Somali community, our East African community, our young people, and our African American folks as well. And it touched my heart in two ways. One, the recipient of this award, Hussein Samatar, somebody I call friend, and somebody who was a member of our school board here as well. And Hussein was a East African Somali man who pushed us to do better in connecting our African community with the African American community. He never would say, I'm an African representative on the school board. He says, I represent African and African Americans, James. And the way we stay connected through that history is us working together. His strength, his courage, his ability to know what we needed to do in this community helped not only our students, but also too, he leaves a great legacy amongst many African businesses that were started because of him and his partners in a nonprofit agency as well. One of the things about this Legacy Award is this. It's a award too that I didn't tell you this, it will keep going as well in Hussein Samatar's name, because if we forget about who we are and from whence we've come, we will always be confused about where we're going. And the best thing that anyone could do to keep us down is to say, you know what, you're not from kings and queens. You're not from Africa. Those African people, they're different from you. You don't need to talk to those Somali boys and those Somali young girls, they're so different. We are not going to let that happen anymore, and this award in Hussein Samatar's name and on his behalf will be given to his widow, Huba Jama, and I would love for her to speak to us about the importance of making that connection continue. So I want to give a Legacy Award to Uba Jama, and I'm going to read something in Somali, and if I mess up, Adem, are you here? Okay, one of our employees gave me the words. So the Hussein Samatar Legacy Award is presented in recognition of his exemplary service and dedication to the students and families of Minneapolis Public Schools this day. And the word I'm going to read is Wari, Mesed, Waha Ka Haro. And what that means is everybody leaves a legacy. And everybody does something worth leaving a legacy for. You're only here for a short period of time. And make sure that your legacy is something that's worth doing. So if I messed it up, I apologize, Uba, but I tried. Thank you very much.
Subah wanaagsan. Good morning. Salam alaikum. I just want to say, help you out to pronounce it right. Wari meiside war haka haro. That's what that means. Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here and work with you in real long coming. So I'm just gonna read, as you said before, because you took my words. Friend of mine made this book for me, and it collects all the newsletters and everything it's in it. So I'm just gonna say that night he was elected in Minneapolis Public Schools, the words he said: "I would not be here if it weren't for the people who came before us. We are a part of the new African American community in the state of Minnesota. I prefer to be called African American rather than a Somali American, which found to limiting." That's his own words. I just want to say, this is my daughter. She's the only one girl, a bone, look like me. Thank you for inviting us. This is opportunity that I will never forget. And Hussein will stay in my heart, and for his kids, and in Minneapolis Public Schools, especially Seward, he worked really hard at Seward Montessori School that my child goes to. We have 4 kids, 18-year-old, and graduating this year. Woo-hoo! Yeah. You cannot imagine the day before the school started, Hussein was passed away. And the day they started school, he was buried. You can put that in your mind and explain it to yourself. And I have a 14-year-old who's finishing 8th grade, going to high school Southwest, and my daughter who's in 4th grade, and my baby 3-year-old. And I really will work hard to work with African American families. Hussein used to say that East Africans is part of African content. So I will continue his legacy. Believe it or not, there is always great man. There is who behind?
Send a man to the moon. Why can't we eliminate racial disparities and really harness the full potential of all of the people that are in our community? And this is a logical question to ask this audience in particular, because philanthropy has never been shy about grand challenges ever. Eliminating smallpox, building the public library system, our national park system, all of those things were really created through the gifts and generosity of philanthropy. But it's not that we, as the philanthropists of today, are not as smart as those philanthropists that did all that great work, or that we don't work as hard or spend as much time. The problem is that there's no agreement on what success looks like. It's like we're all in the same boat, but we're rowing in completely different directions because we're not sure where we're going, and we don't have agreement about what success looks like. Schools have a majority of students of color, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of this opportunity gap. What is that going to mean for our schools? If you love our parks and our lakes, how are we going to maintain them if we don't have a tax base because of economic inequality? It really impacts every single thing that happens in the state, and it doesn't just impact people of color, it impacts everybody. This is really a hair-on-fire crisis. It's not something where we have the leisure of time to have commissions and task force and talk about it. There's a lot of work that needs to happen. So when we agree on what that success looks like, we need to leverage all of our strengths, everybody in this room and beyond this room, to be able to make it to a preferred future that we all have together. And we need to sing that new song together. So Naomi's laid out a clear path for our community, but she got to go home. So it's our responsibility to make this work happen. So I'd like to see us get to work. Thanks.
My name is Brittany Delaney. I am a spoken word artist and arts literacy facilitator. I used to say that I was a graduate of St. Paul Central High School, but now that I really reform what it is that education is and define it as a journey through oneself, I now say that I am a 2007 Black Box graduate, St. Paul Central's touring theater alumni under the leadership of Jan Mandel. Through my experience in the Black Box, I definitely it was a place where I had to face myself. It was a place where I had to look at the things that I was told were not beautiful about me or that didn't work and really find the beauty within them. And it was a journey, one that had many highs and many lows. But that brought me to this point today where I am facilitating and traveling as a poet and artist educator.
And then we're going to close the program with Woki Wia, who is the wonderful president of Youth Pride.
I was hoping there would be something between Brittany and me. that was wonderful. 2 days, young Native American change maker. And she said, I greet you with a handshake from my heart. I thought that was so powerful that I'm stealing it. I'm greeting you with a handshake from our hearts. Wondering if I could get all of the Youth Pride's youth innovators to come up as I share my remarks. On behalf of the board chair, the youth innovators, the staff present, I want to thank you so much for this event. I love the sense of community that we have. The way all the adults are always in your face and in your business. Said I love the food because it's so delicious and it's so good. And I love the culture because it's so rich. In being an African woman. I'm so proud of it, and it defines a way. And I embrace fully being African American. And I'm so proud of it.